Most people see the finished product, the brand, the audience, the success. What they don't see is the story behind it, the decisions, the doubts, the moments that almost stopped it all. Ash and Cedar presents Gatekept.
All right. Welcome, Kyle Gordon, to the Gatekept podcast. Thank you today for joining us. Kyle Gordon is the founder and owner of Best Dad Media, and kind of wanted to just hear a little bit about what you do and what's keeping you busy in your day-to-day life.
Well, Best Dad Media definitely keeps me busy outside of owning and operating a media company. Also, me and my partner have 5 kiddos, so that keeps us really busy. That's also kind of where we get our name from, Best Dad Media, but we're definitely a family operating business, so we have very large family. That keeps me busier than anything. Sports and school events and you name it, where my kiddos are involved in something, at least one of them. So owning a business and kiddos, that's my life.
I bet that gets hectic at times in between a shoot, and then you got to make it to football or basketball or different events. How's that been?
We always have to joke with like clients too, because when they come, our studio is actually inside of or outside of our house. So our house is just right there. We have a studio in the backyard, and I have to tell clients all the time when we're shooting, like at any moment, a kid could walk in here and interrupt us. At any moment, they could have a question. So you got to be ready for, like, in the middle of a shoot, for 2 kids to come in asking questions. Where's the air pump for the air inflate the bicycle tires, or can we go here, or can we do this? And and having to miss things because of, I want to be the best dad that I can be and be involved in my kid's life 100%. But with all the schedules, sometimes it's impossible to be everywhere at once. We have 2 kids that play volleyball, and then we have 3 kids that play volleyball. Actually, we have a son that just started a boys volleyball team at his high school, and I had to miss his first game because we had a big shoot that I'd had planned before his volleyball schedule came out. Juggling that is always a balance.
No, I hear you. I have 2 kiddos, and so I apologize if one of them run down while we're filming this. Start beating on my office door, That's great. Well, so I'm kind of a big believer that most brands people admire started from something simple. So let's kind of rewind a little bit and dive into your origin story. What got you prompted to even want to consider doing this?
So I got started at a church, working for a church, and I was kind of in charge of doing creative things at the church, and like stage design or graphic design or just anything that we deemed to be artistic was kind of under my purview. And one day the pastor came to me and said, "Hey, I need you to make me a video to play before my sermon." And I had no clue what to do or how to do it, but that fell underneath my purview. So I had to figure it out, and I did. And it was one of those things that, like, once I started doing video editing, or once a camera got into my hand, it all just made sense to me after that. It was like my whole life I considered myself an artist. I always did artistic endeavors, whether it was drawing or painting or ceramics. I loved kind of all the art forms, but I never was like a pro at any of them. There was always somebody in my class that could draw a little bit better than me, or somebody that could paint better than me. I never really found my niche when it came to art until this church, until they hired me as their artist. And then when this video project came along, I made a video, and everything about it was probably wrong and horrible. The first one, I wish I still had it, but people loved it, and they kept coming back and saying, "We need you to make more videos. We need you to make more videos." And like I said, it all just made sense. And then fast forward to when I got into photography. So I did video for many years, and then until I considered myself a photographer as well. But once I started doing in-studio photography, we opened up a studio 3 years ago here at our house. And once I started doing in-studio photography again, that light clicked off or whatever, and it was in love at first sight again with the camera. It's kind of just, once I got a camera in my hand, I just couldn't stop.
No, that's incredible. The kind of the idea behind it too, from what I'm hearing you say, is you kind of had like a humble beginnings. because you
Yeah.
didn't start off doing it for yourself. What made you want to do it for yourself instead of continuing where you were at, or looking at maybe a larger company to pursue your talents?
So I got it one day. I woke up and I was a wedding videographer. I was established in like the wedding industry. People in Louisville knew me as like a wedding videographer. And it kind of happened overnight. Somebody that attended the same church that I was working at came up to me and said, "Hey, I want you to record our wedding. Can you do my child's wedding?" And I was like, "Oh, absolutely not. Like, that sounds horrible. Like, that's one of the biggest moments in their life. And you want me to capture that? What if I mess up?" All those things were going through my head. It just did not sound like what I wanted to do. And she said, "Well, I'll pay you X amount of dollars." And I was like, wow, that was, the most money that I'd ever heard somebody offer me for a video before. So I thought, well, maybe I can do this. And so then fast forward a couple years, I was no longer working for the church for a lot of reasons and kind of was doing my own thing and working other jobs. And I found myself as a wedding videographer and was really established in the wedding industry and thought, if I could kind of pick up one other thing, then I kind of have what it takes to go full time as just me. If I could just find one other avenue to make videos in, whether that's at the time I was looking at real estate, music videos, commercials, like whatever it is. There weren't a whole lot of companies that I knew of locally that were doing stuff that I wanted to do or the types of stories that I wanted to tell at the time. I came from that church background, and a lot of what I was doing at the church was telling testimonial videos, so more documentary style testimonies that, lead people closer to God or allow people to tell their story if it was for Celebrate Recovery about addictions or about anything like that. So that was kind of like the stories that I really enjoyed telling. So when I left that, I really wanted to continue to tell stories, and I found myself doing that with love stories by doing wedding videos. And then I really wanted another format to tell my stories, and it ended up being music videos. But I kind of fell into that world, and yeah, I just thought if I can give this about a year going full time, and we'll kind of see where I'm at after a year. But I kind of figured with my weddings and everything, I had a year in me. And then after a year, I was still going strong. And so now we're, I think, around 5 or 6 being full time.
That's sweet. So with kind of that, did it actually take you a year to make enough revenue to replace your income, or were you having to do crazy side hustles in addition to this to figure it out?
Yeah, I was doing like some Shipt shopping. I worked for Shipt, doing grocery store shopping and stuff like that. So I did have to do some side hustles, get on Craigslist and really find I did like a couple convention shows where I go to a convention show and help out at booths and little odd jobs to try to make ends meet, definitely. But it still took, I think, this is a hard business because we put so much back into it too. So it's always hard. Like, do I even make enough? I don't know. I still don't know that question if I make enough to really live the life that I want to live. But because we put so much back when we just did our taxes, and this year we spent so much on our business that we were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did that.
Reinvesting in the business is something every entrepreneur does at some
Yeah.
point. And with your stuff isn't cheap. This isn't like buying a Mac Mini for $499. What kind of expenses are typical for your industry?
Oh, I mean, even from little things like SD cards, the price of SD cards in the past 5 years has about tripled. And that's just for something that we require. We use them for every single shoot. It's something that we have to have, or else there's actually a joke on TikTok that says like it's not the camera, it's the SD card, and then like they take a picture without the SD and it's like it's a photographer joke. So those are almost $80 for the one that I put in my camera, and I need a lot of those. I have to constantly get hard drives for video footage, so I'm buying a new hard drive almost every other month, and that's another $100. And my lighting is hundreds of dollars, and if one of those bulbs goes out, that's $400 to $600 just for a bulb to replace it, type thing. So everything is expensive. And then when you look at the cameras, of course the cameras are expensive, and the lenses are expensive, and I'm constantly upgrading that. Or I think this past year I think I bought a new photo heavy camera because my camera was more video heavy. So I had to invest in a whole new lineup for my photography side of the business. Maybe you did that last year, but you know, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It sounds like it. Just the hard drive, cost alone would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Especially because when you're shooting a video, so like I shot a video recently on my phone and it was 30 seconds, but it was 400 megabytes.
Yeah.
How do things like that impact, with your camera and stuff?
So luckily I have big SD cards. So my SD cards are like, my camera can probably it'll do about a 30-minute video, which at 4K is that'll be like 16, 17 gigabytes or something like that. My math may be off. So it'll hold up to whatever my memory card will hold. I have a 256 gigabyte memory card in there right now. And this actually, my camera holds 2 memory cards, so I can even double that with 256 if I want it. But the camera does good. The camera is the memory cards are my biggest. I always worry about those dying on me or crapping out on me. I have had one hard drive that went out on me in the middle of a project, and I had to find a specialist that could extract my stuff from it. Luckily, something had went wrong, and we just had to get rid of that one file that went wrong, and he was able to pull everything back out off of it. But whew, that was a nightmare.
Yeah, I can imagine because that's like your bread and butter. So you can't really go reshoot these special moments.
Yeah. No,
That's
especially
great.
like a wedding. A wedding you can't replace. We got out of weddings for a few years. We're dipping our toes back into weddings. We shot 3 last year. We'd actually pulled all the way away from weddings, but that's something that if you get it wrong, if you mess up, if your hard drive craps out on you, then you're out. You just have to give them their money back and then hope that they're forgiving.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of the idea you're looking at jumping back into weddings in the future. In the past at the previous church, you got to tell stories. How are you telling stories through your media? What's kind of the purpose behind good media and bad media and the idea of storytelling?
So we do it a lot of ways. We have something that we call documercials here. It's kind of a term that we coined to kind of blend what a commercial is with good storytelling instead of just like putting somebody in front of a camera to give a short testimonial and having a sales pitch at the end. We really focus on trying to set people down and explain to me like, hey, why did you start your business? Take me from the ground up, and then let's craft a video that can really showcase why you're even in existence. Or we have a video for a doctor that we're working on right now, and we're really he wants to focus on pain management, and he's done videos in the past that were just salesy videos, and we want to go into somebody's home. Let's go into a patient's home and let's make the lighting a little bit more dramatic, and let's have the patient really talk about how their pain began, where they're at, what was the worst part of their pain, what was that climax of their pain, what led them to going to your doctor's office, where are they at now? This story, this arc that is a good story, and trying to pull that in. I think that everything has a story. Even objects have stories. How did they become? What are they doing? And I think trying to pull that out of people is kind of a passion and a gift that I've always had, that we definitely utilize here through our documercials, through political work that we do. But even in photography, trying to tell full stories in the photos that I'm taking. It's hard in a headshot. A headshot is a headshot. So if I'm taking headshots, a lot of times I'll still capture details that are on, jewelry that people have or something that I think is special to them, and trying to tell that full story of who they are, even in photography, is definitely a passion.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of thought goes into how you're creating those shots because you're structuring it almost like a consultation would be. They say that art is in the eye of the beholder. How does your content differentiate from other people's content, and how have you seen success with that on social media?
I think people like my rawness, my realness. I'm I'm not polished in what I do. I like raw and authenticity. So when I capture people, I like them to be people. And photography is a good example. I don't over edit. Like for if I do retouching on your skin, of course, if you have like a pimple and you're like, I have this blemish here, I need it, like I'll remove that because that's not who you are. That was a one-off and it was unfortunate it happened during a photo shoot. But if you have a scar, I'm going to talk to you about that. Like, I don't want to remove your scar. I don't want to remove if you naturally have eyes the way that bloodshot, like if you naturally have veins in your eyes, like I don't want to go through and remove all of those. Like that's because that's who you are. It's what makes you special, what makes you beautiful. And I think that translates to what I do in video and what I do in photo is capturing the realness and the rawness of people and not over polishing it as something that I think that I've been known for in my storytelling and in the photos and all of it.
Yeah, I've seen some of your stuff. We'll have to put some up. But when you're working with people, how much more empowered do they feel with that type of approach? Because you're kind of saying it's okay not to be perfect and to be who you are and be present. How have you seen that be to your benefit compared to maybe what they've discussed about other places they've been?
I think with like video in particular, I always joke with them when I'm setting up my lights and stuff. And I always say, I want you to look at this as a conversation, not an interrogation. I'm not the police. I'm not interrogating you. You have nothing like, there's nothing scary going on here. And I think that like being that way opens them up more. Being raw and authentic, I think opens them up more, allows them to be real, allows them to, if they say ums and ahs, like, okay, that's fine. If you don't want to look at the camera, if you want to look off camera, that's okay with me. That's fine. I'm not going to harp on you and demand perfection. And other people may. And there's businesses that demand perfection. Their videos are phenomenal. Nothing to discredit them. And I send people their way when I don't think I'm the person for the job. But if you want that realness, if you want that authenticity, that, if you don't care about perfection, then I'm definitely the right fit. And I think people see that and they gravitate towards that. And other people, they want perfection. So I'm not the guy for them.
Yeah. No, I can speak to that too. With the younger generation, we crave authenticity.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for Gen Z and even millennials alike. And to kind of see your story, get to share that, it's truly incredible. I heard a quote from, or I read a quote from a book before we were talking about this, and it's the idea of they didn't look nice, they looked like art. And art isn't meant to be nice, but it's supposed to make you feel something. And I think with all the content that I've seen of yours, you definitely make people feel something when they look at it. And so that's really special.
That's interesting. We were doing an art project last night for an art gallery and doing a shoot around it, and it'll come out here towards the end of the month. But some of the images weren't perfect, but we were talking about like, wow, that one gives me a guttural response, even though it's not perfect. Like the lighting was off, and I'm like, I almost wanted to say like, let's go try to recreate that shot again because my lighting was off a little bit, or this was going on. And but all of us would agree like, no, that's one of our favorite images, even though, because it makes me feel something, even though it's not perfect, even though there's a little bit off to it, it makes me feel something. And that's what art's supposed to do. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's just supposed to make you feel something. Yeah, I love that.
No, I completely agree. So kind of moving forward from the creative side of it, how has the leadership development been in this industry? Because I know you recently hired someone, you started from humble beginnings, and now you've got a studio and been at this for a while. What does that look like?
It's tough. Leadership is, we're a team of 3 now. My partner, when she came on board, she realized I didn't understand how to run a business, and she begged me to help out my business. So she came on board as kind of like my COO, and she runs kind of the day-to-day, the financial stuff, she pays the bills and makes sure emails get sent on time and make sure bookings are okay and all of that stuff. And then I have a second shooter that works for us. Since getting her, I'm so used to doing it myself. When I want something done, I just do it. That's how it's been for 10 plus years with my business. If I need a shot, if I need a light moved, so for me, it's been very hard to be like, hey, can you do this? To delegate tasks, to say, I think I had to have two special people come on my team, two people that know how to read me and know kind of what I need before I need it done. And I don't have to do a lot of that delegating. I like it when I turn around and stuff is already done and I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't even have to tell them to set up that light. They already knew to do that, or put my mic over there, or do something. So I think it took a while for us to decide, like, what is my leadership style and how does that work with others? And I'm not the easiest to work with, just mainly because of that get it done attitude. And I just want to hop in there. But I think Savvy is our employee. She's been phenomenal. Really, really proud to have her work with us. We've learned a whole lot about what it takes to even have an employee. With paying an employee costs a lot of money, like just to pay.
Yeah, it does.
Different stuff like that we were just like, wow, maybe this is a lot different than what we thought.
That's, they always get you once the payroll taxes come in.
Yeah.
It's the unexpected costs.
A lot of unexpected costs on the back end of running a business that every business owner, it's not just media, but every business owner has the websites and booking companies and like all this stuff that every business kind of has to deal with. But a lot of those expenses do add up.
Yeah, they do. And with your kind of scheme that you have going on right now, so you've got your staff, but you're a leader you're a leader to more than just the staff. You're also a leader to all of your children. How has running this business helped you be a better leader for them?
So, not to get too personal, but like that year that I went full time, I was going through a really rough spot. I had recently just lost a job that I thought was kind of my career path. And I was just going through a really, really rough spot mentally, like mental health wise, and thinking about what do I have left? Like, what do I have left was my main thought. Like, I was driving my car one night, like, what do I have left? And really down on myself and woe is me. And then I thought, like, I have two kids at the time, I had two, and I had my camera. And I thought, like, if I just take the next year, forget that job, forget everything that's happened, if I take the next year of my life and I focus on being the best dad that I can be, and I focus on my camera with my business. So if I have my kids, I'm going all in 100% on them. If I don't have my kids, I'm going all in 100% on my business. And we'll see what shakes up after the year. And through that year, I did a lot of self-healing and a lot of growing. And I started wearing this hat that year as a reminder to be that best dad that I could be. And that journey was everything. Like the man that I am now, I'm the best version of myself today that I've ever been, of who I am. I'm proud of who I am. Had I not taken that year and really focused on my business and growing that and my kids, and it was hard. There was a lot of nights editing where, luckily I lived in a 1-studio apartment at the time. So when the kids would come over, we all shared this one space. So I'm editing videos while they're playing in the same room. And we just had I built this healthy relationship with work and family to where like they knew they could always interrupt me. They knew that no matter if I was working hard, I was going to be there. Different things like that, I think really, really pushed me to be the man that I am, the dad that I am, the business owner that I am. But it all stems from that year and from wearing this hat. I still wear the hat today. Not only is it my business, Best Dad Media, my business has grown into the hat and the business grew together.
Yeah. No, that's powerful. The funny thing too about kind of your story and leadership is you didn't set out to be a leader. It's not like you were working somewhere and got promoted to manager and now you're a leader, but you started off raw, and then because of your actions, you started to get this pretty large following between not only your family, but all of your online viewers. And you've kind of become the best dad to a lot of people who aren't even related to you. What's that been like with your community, and how have you been able to be involved in that?
I love it. I think, that's where my name stems from. Wasn't my family actually. So for a while I was KG Videography and then KG Media after that. But I had my name in it and it was like all about me. I was a one-man team. It was all about me. And I really wanted to get away from that. I really wanted to get away from this. It's all about me. And I wanted to build more of a brand than a name basis. There's anything wrong with photographers and videographers that have their name in their company, but I kind of wanted to build a brand that was a little bit different than Kyle. But I started getting noticed as dad. Like people started calling me dad. People that I worked for would call me dad. My employee calls me dad. And I had a music artist I did a music video for, and they tagged me online as dad. And when they did it, I was like, man, that's kind of a brand. That's really neat. Like I could maybe Best Dad Media and could be something. But it all stemmed from like that, from clients and people. We consider clients family. We have that lingo around here, but family members that were clients would say like, hey, dad, and there's the best dad, and they would always call me that. And so it means a lot. It means a lot because if I'm known for anything, being a good dad is definitely like worth being known for. I think in today's day and age especially. So yeah, if I'm known for anything, I'll take it.
That's inspirational. And your kids look up to you, and I see your post about them. How has it been for them? Because they have this professional photographer that can make all the cool videos and photos of for their TikTok or, whatever they're doing.
Some of them like it more than others. Some of them hate the camera. My son Levi, who is my oldest son. So I have 2 kids. My partner has 3. And so my oldest, Levi, gloats about me. Like, and I say that very humbly. He'll come home and he'll tell me like, Dad, you should be happy. And I'll be like, why? And he'll be like, 'cause I was bragging about you at school today. And he'll like tell me things like that all the time, that he'll give people my business card. He'll tell people that I'm the best, photographer and videographer that there is. He'll say these things and tell teachers about me or students about me. And like, that makes me feel really good to know that I'm doing something that's making my kiddos proud, that I'm not just, not that there's anything wrong with working 9 to 5, but I'm not just going somewhere and working for somebody else and not doing anything that's advancing anything, but I'm doing stuff. And I've been able to work on projects that my kids and people that are close to me can look at and say, wow, like that's big. Like you were a part of that and you helped that. And that's really important. And that's really, really cool.
No, that's super cool. And it makes sense too, because Levi and your other children get to see your discipline, your work ethic, your character, and the story in real time.
Yeah.
So what a blessing it is for them to be able to see that, and for everybody else too that is a part of the Best Dad family. That's incredible. What's the most intense project you've ever done, or what's the project you've done that had the most impact?
So I think impact wise, there was a couple during 2019, 2020, COVID happened. Here in Louisville, Anna Taylor was murdered in her home, and by police officers. A lot of people went to the streets to kind of say what they were unhappy about, in protest. And day 1 and day 2, I really didn't get involved. I kind of watched from afar, and I watched friends of mine get tear gassed and get locked up for exercising their rights. And I also saw a lot of people that were destroying property and doing a lot of stuff like that. I saw friends of mine that were like not doing anything wrong, just protesting, exercising their rights, and they were getting tear gassed. They were getting thrown on the ground and handcuffed and put in jail for doing nothing but exercising their rights. So day 3, I went down there. I thought, I have 2 black children. One day my son is going to be in high school and he's going to learn about this. He's going to have questions like, Dad, what did you do? What did you do with your whiteness during this time? And so I wanted to have an answer for that question one day. So I went down to the protests and I did whatever was required of me. At first, I was definitely peaceful, but I would I would stand up for others. I would stand in the way of others. I would help do security. I would block traffic, whatever was needed that people had me do. And then a couple weeks into it, people started asking me to bring my camera. And they said, we really want you to document this, or we really want you to document that. And I was uneasy about it at first because I didn't want to be, I didn't want to profit off of this movement. I didn't want to come in and see it like a vulture that was just on an opportunity to get my name out there. So I only did projects underneath Black leadership, and I tried to leave me off of it as much as possible. But during that time, I was able to work on a lot of meaningful projects. Most impactful that spread around here the most in Louisville was a video on police brutality that kind of highlighted some of the police brutality that took place, not only with Breonna Taylor, but also with people during the protests. Different videos of people being thrown on the ground or people being shot with rubber bullets and different stuff like that. And kind of the weapons that were used against us during that time. So that video gained a lot of local traction, 30, 40,000 views, something like that, which is pretty good locally since it was a local made, it was for Louisville. It wasn't to really go outside Louisville. But then I also was able to do a video for Oprah. And Oprah had billboards that she put up around the city for each year of Breonna Taylor's life, a billboard for each year. And she wanted somebody here to video that happening, to video the billboards going up. So I made a video for her for that. And that's probably the video that I've done in my life that got the most views. It got millions and millions of views. So that was like huge. As a kid, I was actually on the Oprah Winfrey Show for my mom. And so like that was kind of this full circle moment for me to be like this little kid being on the show to now an adult working for her. So that was a lot of fun. So those kind of during that time though, I did a lot of other videos too. I did 50 videos for 50 protesters. And I just asked them one simple question: why are you here? We know about Breonna Taylor, but why are you personally showing up here to protest? And they had 50 different answers. And that was kind of a cool series, but that time was kind of my most impactful work, I would say, was stemmed from that time.
Yeah, that's incredible. Kind of getting to be on the front lines of everything. You're seeing it as is, regardless of where you fall. Media plays one side, eyes play another side, perspective, biases, all of it combined. That's incredible that you got to be a part of that. And how has that kind of changed projects that you take on now, or even the perspective that you gained as a photographer or videographer as you've moved forward since then?
It's made me it got me into political work. For one, we really love to help the underdog. We really like folks that don't have a shot, kind of, to really push their story out there and help get their name out there. So it kind of pushed us into that, to say like, okay, how can we continue to do work that makes change? How can we continue to put voices out there that need to be out there? And so we got into political work a little bit, but it also like, it makes us second guess a lot of videos too. Like, do we really want to do that? Is there a story there? Like, is it on brand with us? I think our brand is very important to who we are, and we don't want to do anything that's off brand to us or that's off-putting to others. And so I think during that time of telling those stories, it just made me see how much I love to tell stories and how much I love to tell important stories and stories that can make a difference. And I don't get to do videos like that very often where I'm like really making a difference with the stories that I tell, but occasionally the projects do come along and really ignite a fire, a passion under me. We just did a video last year dealing with child brides and children that are wed away at young ages to older men, and shedding light on that. And that was something that, if I can do even one video like that a year, really like ignites me and gets me going to say like, okay, everything I'm doing here as a business is worth it because I'm telling those stories.
Yeah. With that in mind, is there a specific company that you're wanting to do work with in the near future, or a specific person, specific organization?
I think No one in specific. I can't think of anything offhand. I think of like, when I set out to do this, I would always joke and say like I don't want to work with like big bourbon and big brands, because that was kind of what everybody in Louisville was doing at that time. That if you own a media company in Louisville, like you want to work with big bourbon, because I'm in Louisville. I'm in the bourbon capital of the world. And everybody wants to work with big bourbon, and like wanted to set myself apart. And I always said, like, I don't want to work with big bourbon. That's not my goal. My goal was always to work with small entrepreneurs, small businesses, people that really can't even afford a videographer. Like, that's not even really, they've never even thought about that within their budget, but they have a story to tell and they have a why behind what they're doing. And that's my favorite thing to do. So if I can get more of those in the future, more small businesses that say, hey, I have a story and I need help telling it because I don't know how, I'm getting nowhere. I think those are the things that really light me up and I'd like to see more of, in this coming year, especially.
Yeah, well, you're on the right podcast for that. That's kind of our goal too, is getting stories out for people to hear and be encouraged and kind of have a different mindset about things. Because a lot of us didn't grow up with somebody teaching you exactly what to do in business. I'm sure you can attest to figuring it out sometimes the hard way.
Yeah. I say I'm living my more than dream life now, because when I was a kid, I could have never dreamt of owning my own business, like being a full-time artist, of all the things that I'm doing now. It's like I could have never dreamt of that. Like I wrote a paper when I was in elementary school about my dream job was working at Papa John's because I wanted to get free pizza. Like that was my mindset, like growing up, was just working a normal job and whatever could give me a benefit that I wanted, like free pizza or healthcare or whatever else. And I found myself doing that a lot in my life, of working jobs that I thought, well, this has to be it. This is going to be it. I don't know what I want to do with my life, but this must be it. And none of those worked out. So this is finally that, like, wow, as a kid, I could never dreamt of this, but wow, this is what I get to do.
Yeah, and how special that all of your past experiences have led you to this, to be able to do this type of work and enjoy what you're doing. What do you hope your work will represent the next 5 years? Like moving forward 5 years from now, what's your vision and desire for Best Dad?
We're diving back into weddings. So I definitely want to get back into the wedding industry. So I hope that our name grows. We actually just signed up for the largest wedding expo is coming through Louisville. So we signed up to be a vendor there. So that was like a big step to say like, okay, we're really doing this. We're going all in back into weddings. I'd had to take a step back for a number of years just because it got hard. It was a lot. I got burnt out on them. But now, like I did a couple last year, I feel comfortable going back into it. We're also taking our photography into new levels. We're doing something in the area that's kind of not been done with photography and weddings, where we're going to do professional portraits at receptions. So instead of hiring a photo booth, you would hire us and we'll set up a background, we'll set up professional lighting, and we'll do professional wedding portraits for your guests. So that's something that I really want to kick off this year. And then outside of that, I really want to work on more larger projects in the next 5 years. 2 years ago, I think it's been 2 years now, maybe, yeah, 2 years, we worked on a project called Illy Benillium. I Love You, But Not Like I Love Me was the name of it. And then I shortened that to Illy Benillium. But it was a poetry project where she had like seven poems, and we morphed that into one video, like one movie that was also 7 parts. So it was 7 standalone videos that went together like one video. And I would really love to do more projects that are big like that. We premiered it at the Speed Art Museum, and we premiered it at Kentucky Museum. Was it KMAC? Performing Arts. Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts. We premiered it there. Then we did the Speed Art Museum. So it was like a big deal, red carpet deal. We won some awards for it. So I would like to do something that's bigger than me, a lot bigger than me, and bigger than just Best Dad Media, something like that. That's like, that's where I want to see me going in the next 5 years, I think.
It's quite the journey. It's quite the journey. Some of the Early organizations when I had my tea company that we would work with were like the Boys and Girls Club. That was always a fun project. So it might be something worth looking into if the
Yeah,
opportunity
yeah.
arises.
We have a community center in our backyard that my son visits a lot. And I've been thinking about wanting to reach out to them to do a video or do something for them just because my son utilizes it so much and it's such a good asset to our community. And it's literally in my back, it's behind my studio is a community center. So that's something to look into.
Yeah. Well, we're getting kind of closer to the end here. And this part, I always like to open up for advice. So, what advice would you give the young entrepreneur, the student, or the entrepreneur who is just getting started?
If you're just getting started, I would say keep going. That's kind of, I got it tattooed right there. That's one of my biggest things in life is to keep going. A lot of people give up and they stop, I think, too early. A lot of people are going after something and they just stop a little bit too early when there could have been something greater just right on the other side of that. We're however many years into being full-time and I'm still having to figure out new ways. We got out of music videos and then now we're getting into weddings, and it's been this many years later, and I was talking about in therapy the other night that like I'm tired of like I have to do the groundwork all over again. I have to build my name all over again in an industry that, you know, I used to have a name in. So it's like, I've already done that work. I've already even done that work in that industry and I'm having to do it all over again, but I have to keep going. Like the other alternative, if you want to be an entrepreneur, the other alternative is to not and go work for somebody else. And if you're built to be an entrepreneur, if you're built to be an artist, that's almost impossible to work for somebody else. It's just, it's to do a 9 to 5 is one of the most horrible things I can imagine going back to, just because of I know the freedom that I have. I know what I'm able to do with my kids. I know what I'm able to do as just a human and for my mental health and for all of that with what I do. But I have to keep going. I tell that to photographers when they start. They ask me advice and I say, keep shooting. It's my number one advice for photographers is to grab your camera and shoot as much as possible. And I think the same thing applies to entrepreneurs is you just got to keep going. You just got to keep doing it. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard, but you just got to keep doing it.
That's great advice. It's kind of like the idea of the diamond miner.
Yeah.
It's like the meme, he gets super close and then stops and the diamonds were right there, a couple
Yeah.
more swings.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah, no, you never do know. You also never know who you meet. So I always encourage people to always put your best foot forward and try to do the best at what you can with what you got. Well, what's next for Best Dad Media? Where can we find your stuff? How can we get in touch and learn more about what you have going on?
What's next is just this wedding stuff, really diving into that right now, working on that heavy. I got an art gallery coming up in at the end of March at Grady Goods in Louisville, Kentucky. We're gonna have an art piece in there. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I haven't submitted it yet, but what we got was really cool. But and then online, you can always find us at bestdadmedia.com across all platforms. Unfortunately, our TikTok has just became a Best Dad Gym, so it's not really the best way to view our work or anything like that. But Instagram, we always post work on Instagram and on Facebook, and we have a LinkedIn. We have all that. We have a website, bestdadmedia.com, that we're continually putting work into. It's not where it needs to be yet, but it's getting there. And yeah, that's
Well, thank you for that. We'll definitely put everything in the show notes. That way people can click on it and see it. Kyle, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for
thank
being
you.
a guest. And, as you continue in this journey, I hope to see more of your content. All the stuff I've watched, I've been inspired by, and I hope the viewers get to watch some of it and be inspired themselves. So thank you.
Likewise. I can't wait to see how this grows and how the whole company grows as a whole. Ash and cedar, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah, that's what I thought. I was making sure I was getting that right, but I can't wait to see how you grow and the content that you're putting out is amazing. So keep going with that.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Well, until next time, I hope you have a great day. Thank you, listeners, for listening. And that is all for today. This has been Gatekept.
Thank you.